This is Voices for Diversity, our podcast about diversity, equity, and inclusion. And this episode is about diverse leadership. And who would be better to interview than our head of the IIT, Rik Janssen. Hi, Rik. Thanks for being here today. So,
having me.
Before we start with initiatives on specific numbers, let's just settle in on the topic of diversity. What means diversity personally to you?
Well, I think, first of all, for me, diversity means color. And I guess more color is better than just gray. Color, in this case, means, gender, maybe ethical background, religion, internationality, age. I mean, there's very many dimensions of the color. But I would generally speaking, say that more color in a team will always lead to more perspectives on maybe the same matter. And based on that, you can find the best solution and also deliver the best results.
Yeah, that's right. I think homogeneous teams are always maybe have some blind spot. And if you have more color, as you said it, like with this vivid picture you're painting, you have more innovation, you have more solutions and a broader picture, I would say, in the end.
Yes, that's what I would say.
Let's say with broader picture, with changes in global politics, particularly in the US, I would say, there's sometimes some uncertainty about diversity. And I also would say with our colleagues here within Siemens. What about Siemens' commitment to diversity? Are there any changes in the picture?
To put it in very simple terms, no, I don't think so. Of course, we are closely monitoring the situation in the US. I mean, the administration has stated some very clear expectation to companies to no longer pursue DEI targets. But I think I would not only expect that we would find a way to be compliant with those requests from the US administration. Furthermore, I would say that Siemens has its own targets and its own idea of where we want to take it. So we are fully committed. For the IIT, we are fully committed, for instance, and I believe it's coming down to the leaders who really want to drive the change, right? I don't need necessarily a target that I'm measured against at the end. I need to be convinced by myself as a leader that this is helping us to, as I said before, create better results in the end.
Yeah, for sure. You said you don't need measures, but let's look at the numbers where we stand today. Can you share our current diversity statistic at the IIT and maybe how they compare to other Siemens divisions?
Well, I mean, I don't have all the statistics out of the top of my head right now, but I think one important topic, which of course is getting also some focus in the recent past, is the fact that we, of course, want to bring more women in leadership positions. So if I look at the IIT, for instance, right now, we have around 25% women in our teams. We only got 19.2% in leadership roles. And if we compare that to other like business ITs or corporate ITs, then with the business ITs, we are somewhat on par. Corp IT, for instance, is the benchmark, I would say. They are already operating at a higher rate of 24% females in leadership positions. Now, you know that we are currently undergoing a reorganization. So we're planning to set up the automation part of the IIT newly, commencing October 1st. And I have already got some first insights in our planned new structure. And I can proudly say that with that, we have been increasing the share of females in leadership positions to 26.2% in that area, right? So if you have the possibility to also touch the system, touch the structure, then I guess we should seize the moment and go for the change. And I think in that case, we've been already achieving quite a bit. And alongside that, we also bring, for instance, people from Portugal and India, tech hubs, into leadership roles. So they are now tomorrow going to lead international teams. So we might also have constellations where a team lead from Portugal, for instance, is responsible for a global team, and therefore he or she is then also leading a number of people here out of Germany, for instance.
Yeah, that paints a more diverse picture, I would say. And you took a little bit my next question beforehand. So, but we have a reason why we are here today. And just to circle back, in April, we shared our planning responsibles for our new organization. And among, I would say, 16 or 17 people with you, in general, there was only one woman. So as you said, reorganization is always an opportunity for change. And you want to bring that up. But what measures do we have at the moment to get these diverse leadership teams? And maybe is there something that needs to be done further to get more diverse?
Right. So, I mean, first of all, I would say we should try to understand the root cause. So, if we have a ratio we're not happy with, then maybe that's the symptom. But let's understand the root cause. And I mean, I stated that we have 25% females, for instance, in our organization. Right. So you can, of course, go for other aspects of diversity as well, but if we want to bring in more female candidates, we already have early on in the hiring phase to attract more females to join IT, right? So IT is one of the tech areas where we naturally do not see that many females. So also if we benchmark ourselves with public data, with universities, for instance, if you're looking at certain studies they are offering, then usually they are also in that range of 20 to 30% of females, right? So we need to make sure that we already tackling it on that level. So if we take in more new female talent, then we can also build up the resources and also the skills of the different people in a way that we then also ultimately find more female leaders in our organization, right? And if you look, for instance, at the recent batches around IT trainees, I mean, there we have reached a 50% ratio. So it was basically equal, right? And that's really something we can be proud of, because there we are basically bringing in more female talents, and we are with that also moving the needle. If you look at dual studies, right, so dualis in Germany, then we also have been in a 30% range, right? So we are above our average, and everything we do, which is better than our current average, will statistically help us to somewhat fix the root cause.
Yeah, I think that's great. I think we are on the right path. Yeah, 50-50 in trainees is awesome. So that's the pool we are taking our leaders out tomorrow in the future. But maybe there's also something we need to work around in our, like how we set meetings or something like that. Let's say that a traditional always on being 24/7 available leadership model is not working for everyone. So are we exploring different ways to lead in the IIT?
Well, I would say that IT as a function is already somewhat different to other functions within Siemens. I mean, think of sales or service, right? So there you have really way more customer interaction, and you need to be available when a customer basically is asking for your support. In IT, we have, I would say, a bit more freedom to shape the way how we are operating. People are also taking advantage of remote working, doing many things on a virtual basis, leveraging technology. And I think with that, we can really offer a very interesting mix of, I would say, somehow balancing work and life. And therefore, I would say, yes, we can do a lot, and we also should work on those kind of stereotypes, which you would usually find that you have to work as you get a leader even harder and more hours, etc. I think in the end, it's about working smarter and also being able to cope with some challenges. But in the end, it's also coming down to leverage the team, right?
Yeah.
You can't take care of everything yourself. And it should be in all cases, particularly also for maybe women who maybe then are also starting a family, be able to like juggle that in a way that they can of course, take good care of their family, but on the other hand, be a leader in Siemens.
You're playing me really in my cards today. What about shared leadership? I think we have some examples already in the IIT where shared leadership is a thing. And would that be like a thing for the future?
Yeah, I would say we are trying it out in some of the areas. It's a concept which really needs to be a match between the two individuals, then sharing a role, and that has to be, or turned out to be, not so easy. And on the other hand, of course, it also needs to be a role where we then have like enough content to be really managed by two individuals teaming up to lead a team. But I would say overall, it's a good concept, right? So if we have constellations where it makes sense, why not? I mean, we should be able to also try out such things and give this opportunity to within two individuals to maybe say, yes, we lead this together. And based on that, we maybe can also again have this additional aspect to better juggle the priorities there.
Yeah. Thanks. I have a question which would be interesting for our listeners and maybe also for me. Some colleagues from the IIT who might aspire to join your leadership team, and I mean the IIT leadership team, someday or tomorrow. I don't know. What qualities and skills are you looking for?
Well, I mean, I would say not an easy question, right? Because usually you are like over time evolving in such roles,
Yeah.
right? It's not coming overnight. It's more like you're taking steps. You are leading teams, and then you're maybe leading teams who lead teams, etc. So you're growing in your leadership responsibility. And in the end, I would always say that we need people who not only are able to like lead teams and motivate people and take care of the team, basically act as a coach. We need people who also are understanding the matter. I'm a firm believer that you need to understand the topic you're also leading or managing in the end. And I want people who basically develop a vision for the topic they are responsible for, and that they are also really living up to the ambition to make the vision come true. And that in the end is then, from my point of view, qualifying people that they are on the one hand good coaches, but also having a clear vision, and then being open to also bring the, what I would call in quotes, sacrifices it takes to just take a role where you maybe have even higher exposure, and it will somehow also eat into your private lives here and there. I mean, let's be honest, that's also the situation.
Yeah.
But if you are ready to go for that, then I would say everybody can make it.
Okay. Is there something you want to, like, if I woke up tomorrow and say, okay, I want to take a online leadership role and I haven't had one, what would you tell them? Like one sentence.
I would tell them, do a job shadowing as soon as you can, so you get an idea of how it feels and how a working day is looking like. And maybe I would also add, think about a situation where you're not doing the job yourself anymore, but you are responsible for the ones who are doing it, and you need to ensure that the teams have everything they require to execute the job well, and that you still are the responsible in the end, right?
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest change which is coming with leadership roles.
Yeah, I think job shadowing is quite a good way to try out if a leadership role or another job would be quite matching for someone. So thank you, Rik, for this insight. To wrap up our interview, our conversation today on diverse leadership, I want to know from you, what would success on the topic of diversity look like to you?
Well, I would say that, first of all, coming back to my initial statement, we do have a lot of color in our teams. There is no need to discuss it anymore.
Yeah.
And there's also not any minorities, basically, which do not feel treated adequately, right? Everybody can speak up, have a say. And at the same time, we still have like a clear structure how we execute, and we stay focused on the impact we are creating, right? So in the end, we all want to make a difference. And if we are successful from a DEI perspective, then I believe we have managed to address that factor in a way that we can claim to be one of the most diverse companies on the planet, which benefits in a way that we're really outperforming our competitors.
I think we're on a good way, and I hope we will be one day there where you want us to be.
Yeah, I very much hope so. We can make even more use of that, I believe, right?
Yes.
And therefore, I think you are very convinced about this topic. Many others are. And the good thing is that we also have like an open dialogue around this topic. It starts by also speaking up and feeling safe to do so, and to discuss what else we could do to foster diversity, right? And if you look at, for instance, any kind of pride movements, Siemens is always there. Lots of Siemens employees are participating, and they are also proud to be part of Siemens, right? And those are those proud moments. I'm also since a long time with Siemens, and I'm also proud to work at this company for exactly such reasons.
And I don't think I have to do a final statement on that. I will leave it at that. Thank you, Rik, for being here today. And thank you, everybody, for listening to Voices for Diversity. See you next time.